Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into something truly transformative today. This content is based on the original Hindi literature by Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya-ji, specifically focusing on the principle of collective welfare and social justice. We are looking at a philosophy here that completely shifts our perspective on how we live, how we earn, and really how we relate to the entire world around us. It's a deeply respectful and spiritual journey, one that asks us to elevate our consciousness and reminds us that righteousness and justice are the absolute bedrock of any functioning society.
Here is the quick roadmap for our spiritual journey today. We'll be moving through 5 core sections. First, the principle of social justice. Second, viewing society as one giant entity. Third, the crucial difference between pleasure and welfare. Fourth, the path from selfishness to selflessness. And finally, the divine message of the scriptures. We are basically embarking on a golden journey from a mindset of individualistic hoarding to cosmic generosity. So, let's not waste a single second. All right, diving right into Section 1, the principle of social justice, which is the undeniable foundation of true peace. Because, simply put, where there is justice, peace naturally resides. You know, social justice isn't just some abstract academic idea. It is an eternal reality. The literature makes it incredibly clear that we simply cannot ignore it. Think about it. If one class of people is constantly facing injustice, society as a whole can never, ever live in peace. True peace absolutely requires an environment completely free from exploitation, where basic rights and resources are actually accessible to everyone. And the literature gives us this powerful, uncompromising directive, and I quote, "Earn with 100 hands, but donate with 1,000. It's such a brilliant concept. A truly thriving society is one where production is massive. We should absolutely work hard and earn, but the benefits of that hard work must flow outward like a river, nourishing everyone around us." The original text really hits the nail on the head here. It bluntly points out that for one person to accumulate excessive wealth compared to everyday people, they have to harbor extreme selfishness, stinginess, and honestly, even cruelty. Think about the actual mechanics of hoarding. While a tiny handful of people hoard endless resources, others are living in absolute deprivation, completely unable to afford basic medicine or education for their kids. To hoard excessively means you are literally forced to close your eyes to the deep suffering and basic needs of your fellow human beings. Greed for wealth in this context is seen as a direct betrayal of humanity itself.
And this powerful philosophy completely dismantles those outdated ideas of superiority. Economic and social equality aren't just modern political talking points. They are presented as eternal principles that govern a balanced world. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is superior simply because of their birth, their caste, or their family lineage. True greatness is measured only by a person's qualities, their actions, and their inner nature. Your character and your deeds are your true identity. It's refreshing, really, seeing how this rising consciousness is rapidly sweeping away those garbage-like thoughts of birth-based superiority.
Moving on to Section 2, society as one giant entity. This is all about the deep interconnectedness of humanity, viewing the entire society as one undivided divine form.
The text offers this fantastic, almost cosmic metaphor to explain this. All of humanity is sitting in one single boat. Just like the organs in a physical body, our interests are deeply and permanently intertwined. If your liver fails, your heart inevitably suffers, right? If one part of a boat sinks, the whole thing is going down. People who desperately hold on to completely selfish, separate interests can never truly form a unified nation or a healthy society. We are all passengers in the exact same boat. We aren't just isolated fragments floating around on our own. So what does a functioning, unified society actually look like in practice? Well, it requires 3 key traits. First, we have to view ourselves as a small but absolutely vital part of that giant entity of humanity. Second, we need to act as an authentic, functioning gear within the machinery of our nation. And third, we must have absolute faith in the collective interest over our own personal desires. It is a massive challenge to stop seeing yourself as an isolated ego, for sure. But it's not about me. We are the true strength of society.
But hey, that brings up a pretty massive philosophical question, right? If our personal interest is genuinely hidden within the collective interest, how do we correctly identify what our true welfare even is? When spiritual traditions tell us to serve everyone in order to serve ourselves, we need to know exactly what welfare means in the first place. We have to recognize where our true benefit is actually hidden, which means exploring the vital distinction between our temporary urges and our eternal benefits.
Which brings us to Section 3, the difference between pleasure and welfare. Unpacking the illusion of sensory joy. Because pleasure is momentary, but true welfare is eternal.
We mix these two up all the time, don't we? But understanding the clash between them is absolutely essential for any kind of spiritual growth. Pleasure is largely an illusion. It's based entirely on our physical habits and our conditioning. We might feel a sense of pleasure by oversleeping, overeating, or just indulging in laziness, but let's be real. Does it do us any actual good? No. On the flip side, true welfare is tied directly to eternal principles. It's achieved through discipline, hard work, and good habits like rising early. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a trap. Pleasure is a temporary trap. Welfare demands principled action. You shouldn't choose the fleeting pleasure of bad habits. You have to choose the long-term welfare of solid principles.
The original literature here gives us a literal divine directive to navigate this. We must deliberately make our personal pleasure secondary and make public welfare primary. Think of the sun radiating endless light, right? It doesn't hold anything back for itself. Adopting this selfless policy is the exact path that transforms ordinary, everyday people into great souls. It's this selfless action that truly brightens the face of an entire nation. Personal pleasure has to take a back seat to public welfare.
Okay, Section 4, from selfishness to selflessness, the ultimate journey of the soul, where the renunciation of selfishness is seen as the greatest practice of all.
Now we're getting to the absolute core spiritual goal. Just as a river completely surrenders its individual identity to seamlessly emerge into the infinite ocean, the soul's highest calling is sacrificing the me for the ultimate benefit of the we. The text defines this act beautifully as supreme virtue. It is the conscious act of sacrificing personal selfishness for the collective welfare. We also call this patriotism, sacrifice, and true greatness. And the profound truth delivered here is that this self-sacrifice is literally the only true path to salvation and to absolute peace of the soul. Selflessness is virtue. It's the real path to heaven.
But what if we just ignore all this? The literature starkly contrasts this path of salvation, which is serving society, against what it calls the criminal mentality. And this criminal mentality is defined as a state where a person is determined to harm the whole society just for their own personal, selfish gain, completely ignoring the pain and deprivation they cause others. The text warns us very, very clearly. This path of extreme selfishness leads straight into a hellish abyss of self-destruction and societal downfall. It's a blind race that ends in total destruction.
So I want you to really think about this for a second. Did God give human beings such incredible intellect, such vast resources, and such immense capability merely so we could fuel our sensory desires? Were we really created just to engage in a never-ending cycle of sparking our physical lusts and then frantically trying to put out that fire? The text challenges this deeply. We absolutely were not made just to enjoy luxuries. We weren't given intellect for mere indulgence.
And that leads us into our final section, Section 5, the divine message of the Scriptures, the law of the Creator where there is absolutely no partiality in divine justice.
There's a really fascinating logic here. The Creator is completely impartial, right? He is the father of all creation. So he would never unjustly favor humans over animals by giving us massive resources just for sensory indulgence, while leaving animals completely deprived. There is a higher law at play here, and the Scriptures don't sugarcoat this. They have a very specific, uncompromising word for those who ignore this higher law. They define a thief as, and I quote, anyone who consumes the fruits of their earnings all alone without sharing. Wow, talk about a reality check. We are strictly obligated to share whatever we receive.
And why is that? Well, let's be real for a second. None of what we have right now is strictly our own individual earning. The text reminds us that our current privileges, our safety, and even our intellect are the cumulative result of the endless sacrifices and hard labor of great sages, ancestors, and righteous people since the very dawn of creation. Without their continuous chain of selflessness and sacrifice, we would literally still be living like weak, wild animals in the forest. Our comforts today are the direct fruits of our ancestors' sacrifices.
All right, let's wrap this whole beautiful philosophy together. We've gone on quite a remarkable journey today. Here are the 4 core takeaways to remember from the original literature. First, hoarding wealth inherently breeds cruelty. True justice demands distribution. Second, we must always remember that society is one giant interconnected entity. Third, we have to consciously discipline ourselves to prioritize collective welfare over our temporary sensory pleasures. And finally, living purely for our own selfishness ultimately destroys human culture itself. The welfare of the individual is entirely dependent on the welfare of the collective.
So, I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought today. Based on everything we've uncovered in this explainer, you have to ask yourself, will you continue to live merely for your own self, endlessly chasing temporary pleasures? Or will you finally awaken to your rightful, authentic place within the collective soul of humanity? Will you step up and become a part of this giant entity? Because that choice dictates not just the future of our society, but the eternal peace of your own soul. Thank you so much for joining me in exploring these incredible insights. Until next time, keep seeking and keep sharing.